Good day, everyone. Hope you all had a super duper Sunday. My Sunday was mixed. As you probably recall from last night's clip, I wasn't feeling too hot. That translated into this morning. And so I woke up, got up for a minute to take care of something, and then was just like, I don't feel good. A few minutes later, my dad called, and so I was like, I don't know, we'll see how I feel. I wound up not feeling great, and next thing I knew, it was already like 11:15. Church started, and I was still in bed. So I didn't feel great, so I didn't go to church today, and slept until like 2 o'clock, which I guess is what I needed, because at about 2 o'clock I was getting restless, couldn't really stay in bed anymore. Felt rested enough and basically recovered to the point where I went out to a Memorial Day party that I had planned on going to. It started at 4. I wound up just chilling and relaxing and trying to get my wits about me and feel better. And so I wound up leaving about 7:30, roughly. Got there, it was just a Labor Day party, people were hanging out, doing whatever. Mafia was guaranteed to happen, but it hadn't started yet, as I was pretty sure would be the case. So I stood around and talked with some people for a little while, and then Mafia started. And so we got 3 games in the time I was there. And they were pretty good games, I think. They went weird and yet well. The first game, I was a townsperson. And so I'm just going to take you through these games real quick. The second game, I was a townsperson. The third game, I was a sleeper agent, which means I could wake up whenever I wanted to. And once again, like the last time I was a sleeper agent, I woke up at the last possible minute when there was only one other Mafia standing, and we made a play that wound up failing. Just like the last time I was a sleeper agent. Exactly the same thing, where it came down to 4 people left. What's going to happen? Oh, it didn't work. And I'll explain why that is in the third game. But first, let me go through the first 2 games. We played 2 games downstairs because the party was still going on pretty solidly upstairs. The third game we played upstairs because it was getting late, and the guy's roommate lives downstairs, and he wanted us to call it a night for the Mafia game down there. So we were able to move up and play one more game upstairs. So, first game, I was town. And, let's see, I'm trying to pick the games apart now. I remember where I was sitting, I remember what I was seeing. I'm drawing a big blank now. I was almost killed at one point by someone with a gun who turned out to be Mafia, but was managed to talk her out of it because she gave me enough warning. I'm just like, wait. And I gave her a reason. She waited, and the next day she didn't do it, and the next day. And that's what it was. And we were getting near the end of the game, and I was still alive. She was still alive. She'd been silenced once, and I thought maybe she was the silencer, and she silenced herself because of that. Because she's done that before. And all these other things, but I knew she had a gun because she waved it in my face once and almost used it on me. I knew she had a gun, and I was confused why she wasn't using it, because if she was Mafia, we were down. We were so even. We were at 11 people, 4 Mafia, 5 town, and we've made a wrong guess and took out of town. It'd be 4-4, and that's the end of it. Except there's one gun in play. And if the gun was on our side, it would work. If the gun was on the Mafia side, it wouldn't work. So, so I'm trying to like help her like figure out when the best time to use it is, and how we can make a play happen. We had just basically cleared one person that we were thinking might have been, and then she gave a defense, and it was like, nah, it doesn't sound like she is. I think she actually is innocent, whatever. And then all we had to do, we picked someone else, and it was Mafia. We took him down. All we had to do was go to bed, and we'd go to sleep that night, and we would take control of the game to the point where we wouldn't be on that cusp anymore. we could just as easily drop back onto that cusp. But for the time being, we wouldn't be like, we cannot make a wrong choice. We can make one wrong choice or whatever. So right before we went to bed, she used her gun, killed the person we had just cleared, and put us back onto that cusp again. And so I'm still thinking she's Mafia maybe. She could be Mafia. That was a move that great for Mafia, bad for the town. But because I was laying out all these numbers, all these, if we make one wrong decision, the game's over because the Mafia will be tied with us at that point and the game's over. And not taking the gun into consideration, my numbers didn't matter because the gun was in possession of the Mafia. All she had to do was kill one random townsperson. And she knew the Mafia was, so she wouldn't kill Mafia. She would kill townsperson. And then we would automatically drop to that even level, and then we'd go to sleep, someone else would go, and we'd lose the game. Really, the game would be over before we went to bed. But she never used it. She kept not using it. And so, as much as I thought she was Mafia, her not using it when it would win the game for the Mafia was telling me she wasn't Mafia. She wound up being Mafia. And Mafia wound up winning the game that time. I'm trying to remember. We got another gun into the hands of the nurse who came out. So we got the gun in her hands, and all we had to do was, it was the next night, all we had to do was make a correct lynching and go to bed and we'd be fine, or we can use the gun, and if that's successful as well, then we'd be on off that cusp again and have that much more life. So what we needed to do was pick someone, lynch them, hope we were right, and then reassess. Do we use the gun now? Do we wait until morning? Whatever. The nurse has it, so the nurse can't be killed as long as the nurse saves herself, which is what she should do. But instead of giving us a chance to maybe go after this person, which I think we would have, he was acting kind of suspicious, our nurse decided to, bang, he's dead. And there goes our maybe into surviving. So we were able to make a lynching that wound up being correct, but it still wasn't enough because we didn't have a gun floating around. We had the tied numbers, and Mafia came out on top. Game number 2. I was town again, and I was sitting apparently right next to 3 Mafia to my left, as it turned out. The first night I heard this one guy moving. He was 2 seats over from me, but he was sitting on a higher chair like I was. The person between was sitting in a lower chair. And so the moderator asked the Mafia to show the cards so he could see who was what. And I heard a scraping sound of a card on his hand, and then flipping over to show him. And sure enough, it turned out I was right. I pointed out to everybody. We took a vote. Not enough votes. He survives the night. Or he survives the lynching. Then we go to some other person who's acting kind of fishy, I think. And we let him survive the vote as well. And so then someone makes a move that night, giving the guy that I think is guilty. Turns out he wasn't. He was innocent. I was wrong about him. They gave him a gun. And they give the other guy, who I know is Mafia, they give him a gun. The gunsmiths do. And so for some reason that triggered something in my mind, and the person sitting right next to me became the obvious target. So someone accused her. I seconded it. We voted her out. She died. That night, the same person I heard with the card movement laughed at the same time as the person who was just killed, who had her eyes open, indicating that they were both looking at the same thing and reacting at the same time to that thing. So strike number 2 against this one person. But we wake up and I'm silenced, and I can't say it's him again. It's definitely him. I can't say anything because I'm silenced. So we go through a very painfully long day cycle where I'm sitting there like, it's him, it's him, it's him. Why aren't you considering him? I pointed him out last time and you're not even looking over here. But I can't say anything because I'm silenced, so I just gotta sit through it. I forget, we made some random choice. It wound up being wrong. The next night, I hear him, the same person, moving in his chair when the Mafia is up. And I'm like, that's strike 3. He's definitely it. I'm gonna say something in the morning. We wake up, turns out Batman took him out. Good move for Batman. And it worked out. The game whittled its way down. We got to a final 5 people. and there was one Mafia left. It was someone who was turned by the Yakuza and used to have a different role. People we had left was one townsperson who had already killed a cop. Or not a cop. The random townsperson who was given a gun and killed a Mafia successfully. Another townsperson who wound up being the cop, and I figured out was the cop, so I knew he was a cop at the time. He also used a gun that was given to him to randomly kill, not randomly, to kill a Mafia. So I thought, innocent, probably cop. One person we'd figured out was the nurse early on, and another person we didn't know about, but we were suspicious of the one that we knew was a nurse. Turned out they were both nurses, and they gave each other, and the good nurse, the one that wasn't turned, was about to give the other one away when the other nurse, the turned nurse, who had a gun, killed her, ending it, and sealing her own fate for the rest of us. All three of us were like, yeah, she's guilty, so we got her out. Town wins the game, so Mafia won the first game, and I was on town side. Town won the second game, I was on town side, and at the end, putting it all together. Game number 3 was pretty quick, actually. I was a sleeper agent. We were upstairs. We had a much smaller group, so I gave the motion, like, I'm a sleeper agent, I'm Mafia, and don't kill me, Mafia, I'm on your side, but I'm not awake right now. The guy sitting right next to me was Mafia, who got the signal, realized it, and was able to quietly tell me who the other members of the Mafia were. And that they were aware that I was a sleeper agent, and they wouldn't go after me. Then he wound up being the first person we took out. Batman took out another mob. No, actually, Batman took out 2. So yeah, Batman took out 2 Mafia, and successfully. A third Mafia was lynched. The number started dwindling down. All the people I was told were Mafia were being killed off, and then the Yakuza strikes, another person killed off, from what I don't know. And so now I'm a sleeper agent, and I don't know who my other teammates are, but I know the numbers, and they're getting down. And once we get down to 1, I activated myself. We had just had a Yakuza switch. We didn't know who it was. I was playing like a townsperson because I didn't have anything else to go off of. But ultimately I wanted Mafia to win because I was on their side. So when I activated myself, this was right after they started suspecting me maybe, and I was able to say, no, I'm innocent, because I was legitimately innocent. And so I'm like, no, I'm innocent. And so they believe me, they back off for a minute. Then my other Mafia mate, who was a former cop, turned Mafia by the Yakuza. It was him. He used his gun on the one person we'd cleared, leaving it down to 2 Mafia versus 2 town. The 2 town that are left, Batman and the nurse. And so we basically just come out. We're like, we have to stay together. We might as well just say we're who we are. And so we're both Mafia. And we decide to go after the nurse, and she saves herself. Doesn't work. Man, Batman takes out the one other random person that was left. Instead of me, he thought about going for me. He didn't. Although, at this point, they should have already figured out that the other person was Mafia because he killed the one person we cleared. So he should have been the target, but I was the target instead, which worked out fine. So we go to sleep. Last night, 4 people. Mafia strikes. Who do we strike? Do we strike Batman, who can kill someone, or the nurse, who can save someone? But the nurse can save herself, or Batman, we don't know who. So we go after Batman because he's more dangerous. Batman kills me. I'm dead at this point. And then the nurse has to decide who to save. She literally goes eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and winds up saving Batman, which is who we went for. So Batman survived. I was dead. The next day, the town takes out the last Mafia, and the town wins. So close. So that's it. Then I came home. So, that's all I got to say. It was a lot of fun. Good night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.